Former U.S. President Donald Trump says that he could face criminal charges for his role in the January 6 attack at the U.S. Capitol. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has revealed he's a target of investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 election and the January 6 attack on the U.S. Capitol. It's the first real confirmation from the Department of Justice that he could face criminal charges for his role in the siege of Capitol Hill. Trump posted a statement on his social network Truth Social, saying he has been told to report to a grand jury, adding that, quote, "it almost always means an arrest and indictment." Reaction among Democrat and Republican lawmakers has been predictable.
Good morning. Good morning. We're appreciative of the work of the Department of Justice and their focus on staying true to finding the facts and holding people accountable.
The American people are going to be furious. And what Jack Smith is doing is the weaponized government. And he's weaponizing the Department of Justice against President Trump.
If Trump is indicted, it would be his third for alleged criminal offenses, including 37 counts accusing the former president of mishandling classified documents. Trump has also been charged with falsifying business records in 2016 for hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels. He is due to stand trial in that case next March.
That is the UNC Military Armistice Commission building.
An American soldier who crossed from South Korea into North Korea is believed to be held in custody in the north. He has been identified as 23-year-old Private Second Class Travis King. Before crossing the border, the soldier was being escorted back to America for disciplinary reasons. He then joined a tour of the UN-run demilitarized zone instead of getting on the plane back to the U.S. Witnesses say they saw him run across the border into the isolated country.
One of our service members who was on a tour willfully and without authorization crossed the military demarcation line. We believe that he is in the BRK custody. And so we're closely monitoring and investigating the situation and working to notify the soldiers next of kin and engaging to address this incident.
It's not known what King intended by crossing into North Korea, or if he may have been trying to defect.
He may be simply trying to avoid charges, and now that he's in North Korea, has probably made his situation a lot worse.
It is unclear for how long North Korean authorities will hold the soldier, but analysts say the incident could be valuable propaganda for the country. The last 3 known American detainees were released in 2018. A year earlier, an American student died just days after he was released after 17 months in captivity in North Korea. Hours after the soldier's detention, North Korea launched 2 suspected ballistic missiles into the nearby sea. At least 2,000 people have been evacuated from 4 villages after a huge blaze ripped through a shell deposit on the Crimean Peninsula. Explosions have been heard for several hours, and a regional route to the Crimea Bridge has been temporarily closed.
На войсковом полигоне в Кировском районе Республики Крым произошло возгорание. Причины возгорания будут установлены следственными органами. На сегодняшний день мной принято решение о проведении эвакуации из 4 населенных пунктов в районе 2200 человек. Приостановлено движение по трассе Таврида на этом участке. Схема объезда опубликована на сайте Минтранса Республики Крым.
It comes 2 days after a blast damaged the bridge linking Russia to the Crimean Peninsula, and President Vladimir Putin vowed retaliation. Russia illegally annexed the Crimea Peninsula from Ukraine in 2014.
These are images of what Moscow has described as a massive revenge attack for Monday's strike on the Kerch Bridge linking Russia with Crimea. Russia launched its drones against 2 Ukrainian port cities, Odessa and Mykolaiv, from which cargo ships full of grain leave for distant countries. Ukraine claims that 6 missiles and 21 drones were shot down in the Odessa region, although the debris damaged several homes and part of the port, leaving at least 1 injured. Russia, for its part, says that all the objectives were hit, including several fuel depots in Mykolaiv used by the Ukrainian army. Meanwhile, the queues of Russian tourists who want to enter or leave the Crimean Peninsula continue on the damaged Kerch Bridge. Immediately after the attack, which Moscow blames on Kiev, Russia announced the suspension of the agreement on Ukrainian grain exports. This Tuesday, the Kremlin warned Ukraine that it would be risky to continue sending grain without security guarantees from Russia.
As Ukrainian soldiers battle on relentlessly on the front line, there's another group of people struggling through their own war effort, the country's teachers. Their normal skills have been adapted to teach children, learning remotely and often near the war zones. This group of teachers are doing specialized training in neighboring Poland. They're not only learning how to adapt their lessons, but also how to better understand the stresses of their students.
Були труднощі, переважно діти закриваються в собі, вони не вмикають камеру або не вмикають мікрофон при відповіді, тобто вони відмовляються. Вони начебто присутні на уроках, вони слухають вчителя, вони слухають інших дітей відповіді, але є такі, які пережили певні стреси, які просто не хочуть виходити, не хочуть контактувати. Є таке.
Сьогодні в нас є вчителька, яка отримала сьогодні вранці інформацію про те, що її учень, товариш її сина, загинув на фронті. І таке відбувається доволі часто. І це такі травматичні події, і ми маємо навчити вчителів, як з цим працювати.
The teachers indulge in games themselves, which bring them closer together before preparing to leave for their different assignments. Around 4 million secondary-level Ukrainian students went to classes in exceptional circumstances last year. In the northeastern region of Kharkiv, authorities have agreed to allow traditional offline education to restart. But schools will only be allowed to open if they have specialized shelters in case of attacks.
Southern Europe is baking under a merciless sun that blinds during the day and barely cools off at night. In Spain, thermometers exceed 30 degrees in the early morning and 40 degrees at midday. Heat waves now last longer and people no longer know how to keep cool.
Es complicado porque no te puedes defender contra el calor. Contra el frío te abrigas, contra el calor es que no hay manera.
Several Spanish regions are on alert for extreme temperatures. The El Niño phenomenon is partly to blame, although it is not the only factor.
The global temperatures are now warmer than they were than the El Niños back in the 1980s. So the global trend is continuing to grow. So I don't know that we can actually talk about normals because it will keep changing. It will just keep getting warmer.
In the meantime, Italy is sweltering under the African anticyclone dubbed Charon that has put a score of cities, including Rome, on red alert. The World Meteorological Organization says Europe could break its record high temperature of 48.8 degrees Celsius recorded in Sicily in 2021. But the heat wave is not limited to Europe. North America and North Asia are also registering abnormally high temperatures. In Tokyo, temperatures this week exceeded 37 degrees Celsius.
Wildfires in Greece, which began on Monday, were continuing to burn on Tuesday afternoon. The blaze in Attica had spread from Dervenatoria to Mandra Attica. By mid-afternoon, a fire had broken out on Mount Egaleo, with 3 helicopters rushing to put it out. Evacuation orders have been issued for at least 6 seaside communities as major fires edged closer to summer resort towns and gusts of wind hit 70 kilometers an hour. Earlier, 3 volunteer firefighters in Serenida were hospitalized after sustaining eye injuries, and officials say homes have been destroyed in both Serenida and Loutraki. The fire reignited in Loutraki with the biggest problem in Agios, Charalambos and Panorama, with the firefighters trying to bring the flames under control. 7 aircraft, including 2 helicopters, are operating at the scene. Greater Athens and much of southern Greece were on the second highest level of alert for wildfires on Monday and Tuesday, following a 4-day heat wave which had eased over the weekend. Temperatures are expected to soar again later in the week.
Australian castaway Timothy Lindsay Shaddick has set foot on land for the first time since being rescued by a Mexican tuna boat after he was adrift in the Pacific with his dog Bella for 2 months. The 54-year-old had set sail in April from the Mexican city of La Paz, bound for the tropical French Polynesia, but his catamaran was damaged by bad weather weeks into the 4,000-kilometer journey. He survived on raw fish and rainwater, and he has admitted he didn't think he would make it.
The 2023 Women's World Cup kicks off in Australia and New Zealand on Thursday. This year, the football tournament is bigger than ever, with 32 nations competing for the trophy. The United States is the team to watch, aiming to make history with a third consecutive title. But they are set to face stiff competition. Among them, England stands tall as the reigning European champion, spearheaded by a determined lineup. Joining the charge are football powerhouses Germany and the Netherlands, along with Spain, whose star player Alexia Putellas makes a triumphant comeback after a 9-month recovery from a ligament injury. And there's even more to play for, with FIFA tripling the prize money compared to 2019. The tournament kicks off Thursday with New Zealand facing Norway in Auckland, and Australia playing Ireland in front of a sellout crowd of 80,000 people in Sydney.